One of the fundamental questions of my life that I've been thinking a lot about is, are the circumstances of my life meaningful? Are they here for my benefit? And when we consider the conversation from the last couple of days of suffering and our relationship to suffering, I always yearned for a meaning to my suffering. Why would I be going through something like this? Why are these the circumstances that I am facing, I'm up against? And I think at the core of it, you either believe that your life, your circumstances, your experiences have meaning, or they don't. And I think that lends the reflection of a greater question of, our belief systems. And we'll make another video of that another time. But for this video, just consider the concept. I'm not asking you to believe in God or a religion or anything like that, but just that there's something greater than us, at least if you can give me that there's a finite part of us that is our living body that will one day perish and pass away, and the thing that's making that go, the life force inside of it, if you can grant me that, is what I would call the infinite, something that exists after we're gone. Life, the world as we know it, existence, will continue after our death. And so in that sense, both things are happening. There's a finite thing that you are, and there's also an infinite thing that you are. And so that's why I tend to believe that the infinite is working in my favor, that this is a benevolent universe, and that the circumstances I find myself in yield the lesson or a deeper connection to it, to the infinite, than if I didn't have those circumstances. And in that way, it makes the suffering, I need to be careful here, but more palatable. And I say I need to be careful because suffering is suffering, and when you're in that down place, or you're down and out, there's nothing worse than that. And I speak from experience, and I think perhaps one of the proof that I've been seeking, at least the meaning of my suffering, is making these videos. I've been through, and I'm not asking for, I don't need anybody's, I'm not looking for anything by sharing that. I'm just saying, like everyone else in this life, I have suffered. I've gone through suffering. I think what I've tried to do with my suffering is go into it and really understand why I would be having this experience, and if this universe is a benevolent universe and the infinite has this master unfolding of events that is working towards something great, then I lost my train of thought. Then I search for it. I want to know what that is. Why would I be having these circumstances? So either you believe that your circumstances are here to serve you, or you don't. And I think you're in for, I think at a certain point, you might go through such pain and suffering that it bends you to your will, or to its will, to finally seek that meaning, or seek what it is that I'm benefiting from this suffering. And so why are we even talking about this? Why is this something that I'm contemplating? Well, it's because I have been broken open with some of my suffering to deepen what I would call my love for the infinite. And those of you who know me know I'm not a religious person. I don't go to church. But I think what the church gets wrong, if you can pull that away, the whole purpose around what it's trying to take advantage of, if you'll allow me to use those words, is this greater reverence for something that's bigger than us. And that's all that I believe in, is that there's something greater, and I call it God. So but God, in the sense that it is just this, I mentioned life force earlier. So there's something within each of us that is making us go, that is allowing us to be alive through our heartbeat, through our breathing, the things that we don't think about that are just going. All right, and then there's a part of us that is aware of these things and makes decisions in our lives. And I think we allow our gifts to come online when we marry those two things, the infinite and the finite of myself. If I allow the infinite to work through me, then I'm using my gifts to, whose sole benefit is to benefit other people, or to allow other people's gifts to come online. When I'm in my infinite flow of whatever that is, right? I could consider maybe making this video part of that gift, my gift of articulation, if you will. That people resonate with it. There's a frequency that's being emitted through me when I speak. It's not, I would like to think this isn't just coming from Joshua Greco, that there's a part of the infinite that's working through me when I speak. And when people hear that, they might, they tune in. Why do people watch anything? It's because they match a frequency within themselves. So if you resonate with whatever I'm saying, all it's doing is striking something within you that you already believe. And that's where I wanted to take this conversation today, is those beliefs and what's underneath, what it is that drives your actions, that causes you to live the life that you do and make the decisions that you do. And for me, I have always wanted to understand myself. And in order to do that, I have to really ask a lot of questions. Why would I be going through this, right? It's a lot of questions to the infinite, and it's also a lot of self-reflective questions to the finite. Why would I be doing that? That's very different questions, right? Why are these the circumstances that I'm facing out of my control? And why are these the decisions that I've made that are in my control? And there can be a lot of self-judgment, right, about the decisions that I've made, or how I'm operating. And so I can reflect on both things, and then I can marry both things, because both things are happening at the same time and in relationship to each other. So I want to know why I do things. Why did I do that? What benefit was driving me to make that decision? Because in that way I start to qualify how selfish I am, or what things are coming from my ego, which is the finite part of me that I latch onto because I might be, out of safety, because it might be scary, or I might be in a state of fear that makes me believe I have to be that person, or I have to make those decisions to prevent from happening what I'm scared of happening. And so what am I scared from happening? What is the ego's decisions telling me about what I'm scared of? And in that way, I've wanted and worked on over the last several months to years, rooting out all my fears. What am I afraid of? And lo and behold, fears they come from experiences that we have. So here is the progression of our existence: is experience, belief, thoughts, actions. And those last two can go back and forth. But really what it is our perceptions and lenses through which we see the world are based on our experiences that we have, and our beliefs are based on our experiences that we have. So this is why people talk about childhood trauma, and there can be misnomers around there, and you could roll your eyes around hearing another video about childhood trauma. But if you really think about what that's speaking to is, and if you don't believe this, or if you have some hesitation, like, go be around any child, any, we'll say 2-year-old or 3-year-old or 4-year-old, where they're just beginning to be a person. Babies are cute, right? And there's something pure and innocent about a 1-year-old who's just starting to make noises and, move around and crawl and maybe take their first steps pretty soon. But I'm talking about the innocence and everything is new to a child who's starting to get around and start to develop a relationship with the things and the people around him or her. Where was I going with that? Something about, if you don't believe me, see a child. Oh, just how impressionable first experiences are. Like the first time that you were scared. When you're a baby, you have all this love around you. Maybe you cry in the crib or something like that, but you're always, hopefully, I should be very careful with this, but if you have loving parents, which, hopefully you're lucky enough to have, they take care of you, they hold you, they love you in the way that they know how, right? That's a whole nother subject. But there is a first experience eventually when you're a baby or going through your life that you experience a state of fear where maybe the people who you depend on to love you and take care of you are not there, or your cries might not be answered, or you fall for the first time and you experience pain. So my point to all this is that as those years are so impressionable because you're developing the way to see the world. You're developing beliefs that you have around fear, around pain, around love. And so that influences the thoughts that you have as you become, go through childhood and into adulthood. And really all those terms are words to describe the progression of the experience of time and growth through our life. I think the beautiful thing is that you can still do this work and reflect on these things as an adult. I'm, however old I am, but I'm reflecting on these things because I want to know why. I want to know why I experience the world the way that I do, and if there is a more optimal way to experience it. So not that I have to fix anything or make it better, but I trace back to these early memories that I have that were impressionable to make me believe what I believe. And then am I holding so strongly onto those beliefs now in my adult life that it's actually making my life worse, or I'm not seeing the gift and the beauty of the suffering that I have. And here's another way to think about this, and we'll start to wrap with this, is that through childhood, the things that you experience and then the beliefs that are layered on top of that are stored in your body. It's visceral how you feel. Like you say, I feel bad or I feel scared, right? As a child, they'll tell you where it is in their body. I feel shortness of breath, or I feel tightness in my chest. And so these are clues because it gets stored in the body. There's many books written about this. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and there's many others. Healing Childhood Trauma was a great book that I read, if you're curious about those subjects. Where am I going with this? Yeah, that the quality of our lives are equal to how we feel in our body, and our experience of fear and how we deal with fear. And when we recognize that they're just loops, I've experienced this state of fear before, and I've had these same thoughts about other similar types of fear, and the circumstances are different, but the feelings are the same. And you start to realize that the circumstances are purposeful in your life. And this is looping the whole reason I wanted to make this video in the beginning statements that I made. That I'm coming back to a place where I believe that this is a benevolent universe and the circumstances are here to serve me if I'm enough of a detective to put the clues together. And so that's what I've been doing, is questioning, why would I be going through that? Why is this person setting me off? Why do I have this emotion when I experience this situation or this person? And through that questioning, I understand I believe this. I am scared of that. And then through that navigation, I come to identify what I'm not trusting because of an experience that I had. I feel justified in the belief of lack and fear because I have proof that at some point in my life I experienced the condition for which that feels true to me. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if this is a benevolent universe and the circumstances are purposeful, what happens when you alchemize every circumstance that you have or every fear that you go through, not everyone, but more and more, is that you're more embodied in the love and the frequency and the connection of the infinite. the infinite cannot be bad because it always just is. It just any perception of bad is just a label on it based on my experience of it. And so anything that can be bad is really just the finite, my perception of the infinite. So I'll give the infinite its credit where it's due and just say that it's all good all the time, always. And then I will trace back and I'll play detective and I'll identify where I've had an experience that made me believe that the infinite is not to be trusted, is not based in pure love, is not good for me. And through that process, you become, I'll speak for myself, I become pretty spiritual in the sense that I have this reverence and respect for this thing that I can't understand, that I'm trying to make sense of and experience. And I'll never be, and this is the paradox, I'll never be able to fully describe it or put it into words because it's not meant to be. It's not, that's not what it is. It is by nature more than I can fathom, more than I can make sense of. And like I said, the paradox though is that it's I am that. I am a part of that. The non-finite part of me also lives inside of me and is making me go. So part of my role, my goal, is to remove all of the parts that prevent that pure expression from going through my body. And if you use that analogy of the energy moving through my body is the infinite, wherever it gets stuck, that trauma that I spoke about that gets stuck in the body are the clues. So if I get nervous, if I get scared, if I have, all these negative emotions, I can ask questions about them so that they give me the information so that I may clear the channel and that it may run through me as it's infinitely and naturally designed to do. So I don't know if any of this makes sense, but this is what comes through, and this is what feels pleasurable for me to try to articulate. That's what I wanted to finish with, is the art of articulation. I think a lot of our suffering or refusal to suffer and to go through is because we don't understand. We can't state, oh, this is happening because this is happening, or oh, I feel this way because of this. And we live in this state of ambiguity, which I believe is the part that's beyond suffering. We're not actually suffering or going through what we should be going through. We're denying the suffering that we are supposed to be having, and that is what makes our life miserable. That's what makes it worse. So if you're watching this and you're like, what the hell do I do with this, Joshua? What I would say is get your detective lens out and ask questions. If you don't know something, I would argue that I would pose to you that you do. There is a place inside of you that you do know, but you will only get to that point by questioning and addressing the blockage that is preventing you, that you're hanging on to, that you feel justified in believing because you've had an experience that has made that true for you, but to question that and to be able to clear that blockage or see that blockage through a new lens is what will help you articulate what and why it is that you believe that thing or that you experience that thing, to come back to commune more with the infinite, which is the most rewarding thing for me, because I don't know, there's like some mystery mixed in with it, and it just feels good to be connected to that. And we've all had those experiences, I think, where something or someone has spoken to us that can't be defined. It could be a loved one that had passed, or maybe you spent the last couple minutes with a grandmother, or just had a special time where emotions were so raw. That is the spice of life. That is what it is to live in communion with the infinite. So hopefully this isn't too heady. We're going to leave it here today. I think I mentioned most of what I wanted to mention, but it's always interesting how it comes out. So thank you. We'll see you next time.